Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. Thanks as always for tuning in. Just before we start, just to remind you, this is part 2 of my chat with Dom. In the first part, we talk about gun laws and we continue our chat about that. And then we move on to war, religious extremism, and then we start talking about religion. With Dom being a Christian and myself being an atheist, I think it's a great chat. I mean, the majority of this conversation, I'd say probably at the last 40 minutes or so, is about religion. You know, us just discussing some of the issues with organised religion, how laws can be affected by religion, and what we think about that. And just, it's a really good chat. It's one of those chats that really makes me proud to sort of host this podcast, and will do pretty much everything to do with this podcast. It is just me. It just makes you proud because you can have these debates, these discussions, which is not hostile. It's just almost in a sense a safe space sort of environment where it's just like people can have disagreeing ideas, but it's not. No one gets really offended by it, and I like having these sorts of conversations with people where you don't agree on everything. So yeah, I think this chat is absolutely brilliant. Thanks for as always for listening. And just before we get started, there's a quick message from some fellow podcasters, and then it goes straight into it. And I'll be back at the end.
Hey everyone, my name is Drew.
This is Josh.
And we host a show called Dudes with Brews on a Porch. Every week we pick a different Wisconsin-based beer or coffee. We try it out. We let you know what we think. We talk about life. We talk about sports, all things Wisconsin. A lot of paranormal things come up as well. Who knows what we'll talk about next as we dive into our weekly beverage. Dudes with Brews on a Porch can be found on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and anywhere else you find your podcast. Dudes with Brews on a Porch, brought to you by the podcast network Pew Pew Audio.
Dude.
Welcome to Genuine Chit Chat, where we have honest conversations with interesting people. And I'm your host, Mike Burton.
It's almost wrong to say you can't have it because I don't think you're good enough.
Yeah.
That guy can.
Yeah.
Because if everyone has the same right to own a gun, who are you to say no, you can't buy it?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? It's one of the things that I've found. My main issue with it is, this is the thing that a lot of people, like, you're obviously more right-leaning than I am. I'm like kind of centre-left, and I think you're kind of more almost halfway between centre and right in a sense. But we agree on a lot of issues and stuff, and we have a good back and forth for a lot of these things. But what I find with the guns, the main issue I have with guns is you're never going to get rid of gun crime. Obviously, in England, people do get shot. It's not as common at all. And there's I don't think there's any massacres, excluding gang violence. You don't really hear about that much. There's not really any massacres of innocent people. It hasn't happened for many, many years. And the thing is the reason for that I find is there's obviously around the Western world there is an epidemic of mental illnesses, and there's a lot of people with depression and bipolar and all these sorts of other horrendous things, and so that is an issue. And a lot of people say, it's not guns that are the problem, it's these people who are like this. It's like, yeah, but there's always going to be a percent. We can try and cut down the amount of people who are going to be depressed and try and help these people, but there's always going to be a certain percentage of people who are fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's complex. You get rid of all the guns, you're going to get people driving on pavements. You get rid of every car, you're going to get people running around with knives stabbing people. You get rid of that, you're going to get people abducting people in mass amounts and killing them. It's just,
you can't stop it happening, you can just make it a bit harder.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, this is a controversial thing to a degree, but rape is a fucking horrendous thing, and it's one of the worst things a human being can do to another human being.
Yeah.
You are never ever going to get rid of rape.
You can't stop it.
You can't.
It's an unstoppable thing. However, the scorn and the disgusting nature of it is completely deserved.
Yeah.
Like, it is a horrid thing to do.
Yeah.
You can't stop it.
Yeah, but you can curb it.
Yeah, you can only try and curb it and try and punish it to a severe degree as possible to try and prevent other people from wanting to do it.
Exactly.
People may want to do it their entire life, but then may never do it because they're too worried of the consequences.
Exactly.
In that case, success. You've prevented a rape.
Yeah.
But you can't. I mean, obviously you've got like rape alarms, pepper sprays, things like that, self-defense classes.
Yeah.
You can try and prevent it as it happens.
Yes.
But equally, if you can prevent people from even trying to do it, that is even better.
Yeah, you want to have a preventative measure, not something that solves it after it's happened. You want to prevent anything happening, not be able to clean up afterwards. And with these sorts of things, what a lot of people, some people want to live in this this utopian world where there's no violence, no one's horrible to each other. And that'd be lovely, but that's not going to fucking happen.
It's not realistic. It's just not going to happen.
Brutal honesty, we're never going to live in a world without rape. We're never going to live in a world without violence. We're never going to live in a world where people aren't pieces of shit. That's unfortunately part. You have like nearing 8 billion people, or 7 billion people, soon in a few years there's going to be 8 billion people. You can't have 8 billion people and not have a decent chunk of them being fucking nuts, okay?
Yeah.
But what you can do is you can try your best to, as we've said, curb it. And with America, I'm not saying people should have all their guns taken away and stuff. The only thing in America I say that should be able to be done is 2 things. If they could prevent these 2 things, I'd be fine with it, okay? Or at least cut it down severely to a similar degree in Britain or any of the other sort of European countries that haven't got issues with it. Mm-hmm. All I want for America and stuff is no mass shootings. If you can get rid of mass shootings, that's just horrendous. And also, obviously, one of the things that I find is, say, I've used this example before, I can't remember if I have on the podcast, but say I was suicidal, okay? Mm-hmm. Say, and I want to kill myself, and I got a gun, and I was going to shoot myself. Uh-huh. But let's say, the only thing I hate more than myself is, let's say, people who like Taylor Swift or something. I've got a problem with Taylor Swift, I just want to clarify. But let's just say, for some reason, I think anyone who listens to Taylor Swift are a piece of shit, okay? So what I do, I go to a Taylor Swift concert, I shoot as many people as I can, and then when the police show up and people start showing up and trying to get me, shoot myself. Then I've done what I wanted to do, because I killed myself, and I've taken all these people down with me. That's the issue. You have these people who are mentally ill, who don't care about dying, who don't care about this, like the people in the, I think it's the Eagles of Death Metal concert in, was that Paris?
In the Bataclan Theatre in Paris.
Yeah, and it's like, obviously...
It's extremism. You can't stamp it out, like... Wars on terror and stuff like that, and the war on ISIS against ISIS and stuff like that is right. You can't. We live in a world with too much conscience. You can't know that suffering is going on and not do something to prevent it. Yeah. The only way to prevent it, unfortunately, is military action.
For now, with ISIS and stuff, that's one of the things.
You can't. Like, they're extremists. They're not going to listen when you say, "Please don't kill these innocent people." They're going to say no. Yeah, it's just going to happen.
It's a very difficult area with ISIS, especially with like drone strikes. So I don't know what my opinion is on that, because I find drone strikes are horrendous. You kill a lot of innocent people, and it will, doing so, does turn a lot of people onto ISIS. But equally, we can't do nothing. Again, and I don't think anyone has the answer there.
It's things like that as well. People go, "Oh no, you killed lots of innocent people." It happened quite a lot in the Gulf Wars, and where people go, "Oh no, you killed all these innocent people." Well, those innocent people were actually Saddam's Republican Guard who just were in their own homes. Yeah. And what they like, I'm really into my true account stuff from people who've served and then written books of it. There's an MP, I cannot remember his name. It's really rude of me. He was a captain. He is the MP for Plymouth, I believe. Okay. In the London Bridge terror attacks that happened, he was the MP who ran across the bridge to help people. Oh, okay. Cool. And he was Commando, I believe. Okay, I think I heard about him actually on the news and stuff. Yeah, great bloke. His book is called We Were Warriors. Right, brilliant book. There's another one by a guy called Kim Hughes, who was a staff sergeant. He was an EOD expert, so he defused bombs, and again, brilliant book. But they talk a lot about stuff and how it's the mindset is unreal, and it is modern warfare almost has come to a point where those countries we're so much more advanced. The way we fight wars now is insane. However, they're so basic. I mean, Kim Hughes' book is called Painting the Sand, which is to do with the brushes that the bomb disposal experts use, and they look like they're painting the sand. I see. And they're actually brushing the sand away from an explosive device. I only know that stuff from Hurt Locker. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He does go on about Hurt Locker actually in the book. It's a great movie. Like he compares it to the daily routine of what it's really like and what the film is like. Yeah. But he's, they'll uncover something and it's like bits of biro pen and a palm oil container and some chemicals, and they've made a bomb in their shed. And the people planting these are farmers and people who run market stalls and bakers. And the problem is, it's the civilian population is there. Embedded in that are people who one day are selling something to NATO soldiers and the next day trying to blow them up. Yeah. You would look at a Taliban fighter and you'd know he's a Taliban fighter because he's got an AK-47 on him and he's shooting at you from across the dusty field. Yeah. The next day You've fired loads of rounds, you've called in a helicopter, you've dropped smoke, you've had mortars launch off from a nearby base and checkpoints and stuff like that. You've had an armed convoy come out to rescue. Billions of pounds spent for one guy firing 10 rounds at the end of the field.
Yeah.
The next day, that same guy is in the village shaking your hand because he knows he tried to shoot you, you don't know who he is, and it's all hunky-dory for him.
Mm.
But that mindset can't be stamped out.
Mm.
You can never wholly defeat it. Obviously, the Taliban were supposedly beaten. They're still around.
Yeah.
They're just not the biggest, baddest guy in the area anymore.
Yeah.
IS is.
Yeah.
So now the focus is shifting onto them.
Yeah.
And the Kurds in Turkey are a terrorist organisation. They are classified all over the world as a terrorist organisation. Kurdistan and the Kurdish region in the Middle East now were the backbone of the fight against ISIS. The Iraqi army ran away at first. Syria was in a shit state and completely overrun. And ISIS invaded Kurdistan, the region of the Kurds, and the YPG and the YPJ, the Kurdistan army, they fought back, halted an ISIS advance across a swathe of the Middle East, and have slowly been taking ground, pushing them back, and killing these people. Now, they're classified as a terrorist organisation just because, and I think Turkey is a horribly corrupt country, but the Turks don't get on with them in their own country.
Yeah.
There is, sort of internal civil warfare almost, if you like, between the Kurds and the Turks. So the Kurds in Turkey are treated horrendously. And so where do we stand? Because we offer airstrike capabilities and technological, and I'm pretty sure funding to the Kurdish army. People in this country go out to help fight ISIS.
Yeah.
There was another book called Fighting ISIS about as a builder. He was one of the first British people to go out and fight, I think. And he sold up his entire life. He sold his house, his business, his van, his gear, all sorts. And he bought loads of combat equipment, and he went out and he bought a gun, and he was trying to fight ISIS and help the Kurds. And where do you stand? Because that's two essentially terrorist organisations fighting each other. What are you supposed to do? When the dust settles and ISIS has been defeated, what are you going to do to the Kurds? Are you going to turn around and go, right, there's bombs we were dropping on ISIS, we're now going to drop them on you? What are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
And the societies they're setting up behind their front lines are great. They've got men, women, like 4 different types of religion, all on a council running a city. That is almost unheard of in that part of the world.
Yeah.
If you're not a Muslim man, you're not in control. If you're not an Arabic man, you're not in control.
Yeah.
Whereas there, they've got women, men, they've got Arabs, they've got Muslims, they've got Christians, they've got Jews, all sitting on councils running these cities.
Yeah.
Incredible. Because it's the world they're trying to create. They're actually really pushing to create a better world. Brilliant. However, it's going to come to a point where they're going to be told, no, we still think you're terrorists. Time to do something. And unfortunately, that will create a mindset of extremism.
Well, that's the thing. It's one of those things where when you start talking about world politics, especially some of the wars and stuff, it's so fucking messy. There's not a right answer, because
there really isn't.
It's one of those things where if you said, okay, let's go back in time, let's with the Obama administration, for example, let's say Obama never did a single drone strike ever. Okay, now a lot of people who are really against the drone strikes and stuff would say, oh no, that would make everything better, and it's like, and a lot of people for it would say, no, it would make everything worse, and it's like, we don't know, because you can make the argument for and against, and for me, they both are kind of equal. Where if we keep bombing them, it could end up. There could be these people, or there are these people who are civilians, who are...
Yeah, you're turning them into bad people almost, because they want some sort of retribution.
But then if you don't bomb any of ISIS, anything like that, they are going to keep growing, and then they're going to grow anyway. And it's like, and some people go, okay, well, if they're going to grow anyway, then don't bomb innocent people. It's like, but it's not that simple. The problem is at the moment, the only clear options are really, there's only like 2 options, which is either bomb them or don't. There's a bit more to it than that. But in this example, let's just say,
layman's terms, attack, don't attack.
And it's like, well, if we don't attack, they're probably going to grow and we're going to seem weak. And if we do attack, we're going to kill loads of innocent civilians and also turn loads of people. And it's like, but if we don't also, ISIS are going to kill people as well anyway, because, there's like, especially with homophobia in, obviously, in the Quran and stuff, it says about being homosexuals wrong, and the general thing of in a lot of Islam is much like in Christianity and Catholicism is homosexuality is wrong. So there's like members of ISIS chucking homosexuals off rooftops because, and it's like, we can't let that happen, but we don't want to bomb people who are civilians. It's just like people who act like they know the answers are just so full of shit because it's such a massive clusterfuck of complicated things.
Yeah.
When you have religious extremism mixed with hundreds and hundreds of different cultures, all slightly twisted from each other, you've got like a lot of the a lot of those Asian countries where they have got a lot of Muslims living in there, but you've got like the different sectors of the Muslims, and I'm unfortunately not as well adversed and not as knowledgeable about them as I should be. But you've got there's parts of Asia where you've got like the Jewish population, and you've got some of the Christians, and you've got the Muslims, and they're all like fighting against each other all the time, and always there's big civil wars going on. Everyone's hating each other, and there's so many people who are like second-class citizens because of their religion. And the only way we're really going to be able to go forward, which I think really like baby steps, we're doing like 2 steps forward and then like 1.999 steps back, basically every like decade, well not every decade, but maybe let's say every like couple of years. We're getting slowly closer and closer to the right place. But the problem is everyone having been too full of their own ideas. The problem is that for some reason at the moment, hopefully this will change, you can't have like large groups of people who have different either religious or otherwise other ideologies living amongst each other, because for some reason people can't just be okay with that.
On a small scale it works, but as soon as you take it onto almost a countrywide scale, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Like, I'm religious and you're not.
Yeah.
We've got on for years.
Yeah.
It doesn't cause a problem. However, if you take all the Christians and Muslims and the Jews, if you take all the religious people in the country and all the non-religious people in the country and got them in one giant ass room, there would be a fight.
Yeah.
A fight would break out because they'd start talking about it and they go, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong. And someone would get on the soapbox and it'd kick off. If you take 2 of them, one religious person, one non-religious person, chuck in a room, they can maybe have a conversation.
Yeah.
But you just, as soon as you get things on a big scale, it goes a bit to shit.
It's the group mentality. It's the mob mentality. When you get a large group of people, you get the I can't remember what the exact term is. It's really annoying because I use it quite often when I'm not recording, so I sound like an idiot now. But it's when you don't a diffusion of responsibility. Yeah. That's what it is. Because when there's like 10 of you, if one person's doing it wrong and then 2 people, then if there's like all of you are doing it wrong, you're all equally kind of not in the wrong. If you're the first person in a big room to stand out and do something, everyone's going to notice you. But if everyone around you's doing something and you do it as well, you're just part of the mob. You get the mob mentality. You don't feel responsible for it, and it's all these sorts of things. And with religion, as obviously you brought it up, because you're a Christian and I'm an atheist, but my spiritual and religious views and ideologies are changing a little bit, but I still don't generally believe in a deity. I believe what I'm kind of coming to believe is as a universal consciousness of everything alive is, whether that be plants, humans, anything on this planet. There's a big consciousness, in a sense. Like that's why when you're in like the forest, you just kind of you feel connected in some way because life is like that, But what happens is it happens with just even you look at America primarily with a lot of the college campuses and stuff where you get like the left versus the right, and as I've said, you're more right leaning and I'm more left leaning, but you get these people who are like, I'm on the left and anyone who doesn't have my views is a Nazi, and then you get the people on the right who are like, anyone who doesn't share my views is a hippie, and it's just like we have to be able to have these conversations where we can discuss things without people getting so attached to their own ideas that they use violence. You can't. Using violence will not solve these issues. Obviously, when it comes to in large-scale military things, when there's ISIS and stuff, that's a completely different kettle of fish. But with the religious thing, you saying all those people, if you separated all the religious people, all the if you managed to get all the religious people together and put them into their groups, and put all the atheists together into their groups, and then put them in a room as these groups, obviously there'd be a lot of conflict. But what we need to do is, when we have like policies of, say, Britain and stuff, we need to have it where people who are atheists aren't gonna chastise or ostracize anyone who is religious, and people who are religious aren't gonna repress anyone who is homosexual or anything like that. Like I've said this. I don't mind if you're Christian, Catholic, Muslim, anything like that. As long as if you're okay with, even if you're not fully okay with homosexuality, even if you think homosexuality is disgusting, which I obviously do not agree with that, but if you think that, as long as you don't vote to make it so that homosexuals have no power, then okay. If you in your mind, like this is maybe a controversial thing, but say in your mind if you're really racist and you think that all immigrants are awful people and they should go home or anything like that, which obviously I do not believe in, but if you really, really believe that, if you don't act upon it, and if you say you're say a boss in a company, and you would still hire someone who is of a different nationality, and not because I need one extra person here for diversity. If you interview 10 people and this one person is the best, and they happen to be foreign, fine, whatever. We need to look at people's merits as opposed to where they come from and their ideologies, and we need to have a thing where when policies in England are done, we don't have religious sort of ideas twisting what's the right thing to do. And we're slowly getting to the right place, but there's people like you who I really appreciate, where you are a good person to talk to about these sorts of things. One of the reasons I want to have a chat with you, because you're on the right more so, and also you're Christian, whereas I have different views to you, but we can have these normal conversations where we don't get each other's throats all the time.
Well, the thing is, it's just having an open mind. I mean, my take on, and it is a take, because faith is a very personal thing, but my take on Christianity is very open. I do believe in God. I do believe in the story of creation and all that sort of stuff. That doesn't mean you can't believe in science. Yeah. The two can marry up quite well. Yeah. Yeah. But
the main thing I will say, is just to interject, is just the one big thing that splits everyone, and everyone gets really split on, is the first thing. Because the atheists will go, it was a Big Bang, and then a lot of Christians or Catholics will go, it was God. It's like, well, as I said, I don't believe in a one all-powerful deity, but there is... if you said, if I found out somehow they could prove it, that there was a God and he caused the Big Bang,
exactly,
well that makes sense. Both of them work then, and you can have that. You can have all these sorts of things, and a lot of the stuff in the Bible, like a lot of it is with certain things like Adam and Eve and whatnot. I'd say that's more of a metaphorical sort of thing in stories. But with Jesus, you could say either some of that may have been. You can argue some of it may have been translated imperfectly, or you could even say some of it did happen. There was a superhuman sort of being 2,000 years ago, or whatever. Or you could say it's all metaphor. And all I look at it is it doesn't matter how you interpret it. It matters how you act upon it. You have never shown any signs of being a bigot or a homophobe or anything like that. So in a non-rude way, I don't care what you believe, because it doesn't matter.
Because I don't care what you believe. Yeah, it's exactly that. It's like it's been said before. It's an old saying. It's one of my favourites. Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one. Doesn't mean I want to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Christianity tells us that homosexuality is wrong. Equally, Christianity tells us that God created man in his own image and to be as he will.
Yeah.
So
I love that neighbour as well.
And some take it too far.
Yeah.
But
really, really love your neighbour.
But so God creates mankind. Mankind decides to be homosexual. God and religion will tell you to beg forgiveness for that, and that it's wrong, and that you should pay for your sins in some form. However, if you have lived to the letter of the Bible and Catechism, and you are a good person, you give alms to the poor, you go to church, you help whenever you can, you're a good Samaritan, you're not just going to go to hell because you were homosexual. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. There are stages of hell, there's heaven, there's purgatory. Purgatory is where you go to pay for your sins before you go to either heaven or hell. So, yes, in the religious sense, you may have to go suffer a little bit because you're a bit bad, and then get heaven. You're a little bit bad because you lived an incredible life, a very kind life, but you did like men, so off you go to purgatory before you can come into heaven. It's not like people confuse with heaven and hell. There are stages in between, and it is up to every person to make up their own mind how they do it. I am a Christian. I have a strong faith. However, I am not great at practicing my religion. I go to church way less than I should. My views and my take on the world are quite modern, even if they're a little old-fashioned sometimes. But they're a more modern view than religion would generally put into.
You're more of a modern traditionalist, as opposed to...
Yeah. I mean, tradition and religion also you shouldn't have premarital sex.
Right.
I do.
No! Oh yeah, boy!
Yeah. Oh no, I don't think it's going to send me to hell. But equally, people say you shouldn't pick and choose faith. Faith is a thing. I do. It is a thing. I like to believe in God. I believe in the story of creation. In my mind, I marry it up well with science, and I believe there is a connection between the two. I don't think you should have kids before you're married. That stems from not having sex before you're married. Yeah. I'll take that bit. I don't want to have children before I'm married. But again, that's my personal opinion. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying I wouldn't.
it's one of those things where I personally, with me, my own opinions on marriage is marriage to me isn't valued in the same way that it was, and
No.
because of my family especially, like I think there's only one member of my family that has only been married once. Do you know what I mean? Like, so for my own personal experience, especially, marriage isn't as like my mum. I think she's getting married again soon. She's on her third marriage, I think. The first time she was really young, she got married. It wasn't right. Second time was to my dad, who obviously passed away, and now she's with another person who's called Ant, and he's lovely. And it's like, if people want to get married, then you should go get married. If you don't want to get married, don't get married.
Exactly.
But
If it means something to you, crack on.
Well, your ideas though, your idea of you should get married before having kids isn't like the cold cut of you can't. It's more so you should know that you want to be with this person so much you're willing to commit your life to them. Then once you've done that, you're ready to have children, because kids are an even bigger step than marriage. Like if you can't handle like being married, how the fuck are you going to handle children? So that's kind of all of your ideas. You're like a modern traditionalist. Is all of your ideas stem from a degree. Even if you look at it from a different perspective, it's almost logic, you know. And with your thing with God and stuff, one of the things I think of, especially recently, has been obviously, as I said, I'm not a religious person, but what I'd like to think, which would be a really nice thing, obviously I'd love to believe there's a heaven. Excuse me. I wouldn't like to really believe there's a hell, to be honest, but I would like to believe that you die, and if you're not good enough, then you just get born again, and then you just keep trying until eventually you're good enough. Or maybe we're just always being born. I don't know. No, you know, one of the things that I'd say to all religious people and everything is the one thing that everyone can agree on is there's at least one life we know. We know for a fact that this life we're living now, we know that exists. Now, the afterlife and stuff, well, you can believe what you want, you can think what you want, but no one fully knows, okay? And so what we should do is live this life as the best as we can, but that includes being as good to each other. You know, I believe in a lot of the, like I was raised, my dad was agnostic, my mum pretty much was agnostic. She only prayed when it was like, she didn't necessarily believe in a God, but when things were really bad, she'd pray.
Same as my mum. She likes to believe in something. She's not
yes,
particularly religious. She's not particularly spiritual, but she likes to believe in something.
Exactly.
It's comforting to occasionally do that.
Yeah, and I went to a Catholic primary school, so I learned quite a bit about religion. And you know, as you can see, obviously, as you've known me for a while, I always wear a St. Christopher's pendant. You know, which is quite ironic for an atheist, but you know, my dad always wore one, so and I've actually got his one upstairs. So when I have a kid, I want to give it to them, and it's like a good luck charm. My dad always had and stuff. And one of the things that I did find from a lot of the religious teachings was that, you know, the core ideas of it, which is love thy neighbour and all that sort of stuff, they're the important things. And what's happened over the hundreds and thousands of years and whatnot has been people who are greedy with power have twisted the words that were, like, I do believe that when religion was created, obviously a lot of it was created and twisted to control the masses, and some of that was needed, because thousands of years ago, people, they need, I compare it to children. 2,000 years ago...
You need structure to keep people in check.
Yeah, with children, you can't just expect children to be good. Because even though a lot of children are very innocent, you can't just expect them never to lie and expect them never to steal because they don't know better. You have to teach them about punishment and reward to a degree, and then as they get older and they learn a bit more and their brains develop and stuff, they realise, oh, if I'm good... Because before they get empathy... They just are selfish because that's what humans are. And once you learn about empathy and you become empathetic or empathic and stuff, you're then like, oh, I want to be good to people because I feel good helping others. But before you have that, the only way to teach someone is you do good things, we'll reward you. And that's how I found religion was. Because when we didn't know about the universe, and everyone, it was almost a bit of chaos and stuff, you know, no one really knew anything and there was no laws or no rules, you had to tell people, look, stop murdering and raping each other. And they're like, why the fuck should we do that? It's like, because you're going to burn forever. That was needed. That was like,
live a good life, get a happy afterlife.
Exactly.
Live a bad life, go to hell.
Yeah. And I like to think that...
It's a way of keeping people in check.
Exactly. And as I said, even though I'm not religious, I try and be as good as I can to everyone I know, because in a sense that makes heaven on earth a bit. Because if you're good, if everyone was good to everyone, it's brilliant. But you notice when there's people who are horrible to people all around them, they're just miserable. You know, people who have this toxic vibe to them, they're just miserable people, you know.
Yeah.
It's awful. And I often find the nicest people, or the happiest people you meet, are the people who are the most altruistic, who want to help.
Yeah, very selfless and giving.
Yeah, and in the last few years of my life, especially when I moved away from home and I've had a lot more freedom, well, I've been able to, obviously especially driving as well, just doing little things, giving people a lift or helping people move. These little things, it's like, an hour of my day or 2 hours of my day goes to helping this person. But that small amount of joy that I bring them makes it worth it, you know?
Yeah.
And I really believe that, I really like the idea of religion. I really do. But too many people who what they do is they twist some of the beautiful teachings of Jesus loving each other and stuff. And what they do is they twist it and pull things out. And there's like the whole Bible, like, if we say just the New Testament, for example, the majority of that is be good to each other. That's like 99% of it. And then there's the odd line, which is, a man who lays with another man must be stoned. That's in there. But a lot of people say with the interpretation of that, even back then, was that women at that time were seen as second-class citizens, okay? And I think it's the quote is something like, if a man lays with a man as he would with a woman, may he be stoned or something.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people believe that back then women were seen as second-class citizens. And what I was actually saying was, don't treat your fellow man like you treat a woman, because men are better than women in that sense.
Yeah.
So if you look at it from that perspective, that completely wipes the whole...
Exactly.
And that was just because 2,000 years ago people didn't know better about men and women and stuff. So it's just like, people have the wrong interpretation. And then there are certain people who are with homosexuality, okay? I'm fine with people being gay or trans or anything like that, okay? But with 100% honesty, if I watch two dudes full on make out, that makes me kind of uncomfortable. Just like not like in a room, like if I had to watch a screen with two dudes making out or two dudes fucking, I don't want to see that. Just like two gay dudes don't want to see two straight people fucking or two women fucking or anything. It's like that. And what some people do is, rather than going, I'm not really into that, but I don't mind, what they do is they go, I'm not into that, therefore they shouldn't do it. It disgusts me. It's wrong. Look, it's in the Bible. We've got this thing.
Yeah.
God says, and then it's just all this fucking, it's your own insecurities and your own issues, and they project it and they use the religion as this veil over it. And
It's exactly that. I mean, obviously it takes a historical stance, but the Crusades, the first crusade was started by a man who wanted power and who wanted money and who wanted the gain and who wanted the Holy Land.
Yeah.
And he gathered the masses for this great religious cause, but in reality, he wanted. And not because he wanted to glorify God, but because he wanted. He wanted power, he wanted this. So, it kicked off the Crusades. A huge bloodletting ensued. Now, with ISIS and stuff like that, religious extremists, that man thinks you've got Muslims all over the world who they say these men are not Muslims. This is not what Allah wants. This is wrong. This is not our religion.
Yeah.
Whereas the people in ISIS go, yes, this is exactly what our God wants. He wants us to kill you people. No, he doesn't. You think he does because you interpret it.
Yeah.
Interpret it how you will, but don't put that onto other people. Don't project your opinion onto someone else to the point where it can damage their life.
Yeah.
Whether it's their mental health, their physical well-being, just how happy they are in the day. I don't walk around going, hiya, how you doing? You're going to hell.
Yeah.
It's just not what I do. I may think that, like, people throwing trash out of their car. That really, really gets me. It drives me mad. I mean, I was parked up in my van one time, and some kid was walking past with his girlfriend. He dropped a candy bar wrapper on the floor. And I put my window down, and as he got level, I just went, "Oi! Go and pick up a little shit." And really embarrassingly for him, he went and picked it up. His missus must have thought he was a loser, or they both thought I was an arsehole.
Yeah.
Either way, what you're doing is wrong. Littering is wrong.
Yeah.
If he'd have spat on the floor, I'd have gone, ugh, horrible.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have shouted at him.
Well,
what's he going to do?
Yeah.
Oh no, there's some spit on the floor. It's a bit disgusting.
Yeah.
But it's caused no harm.
Yeah, exactly.
Littering will cause harm.
Yeah.
It's not going to degrade. It can harm animals. If I let that go, what's letting another bit go? And another bit, and another bit. To the point where we're all wading around in ankle deep in shit.
Exactly, yes.
Whereas a bit it's going to dry in the sun, it just doesn't look very pleasant to see it. There is a line between right and wrong, and then between people's opinions moving that line.
Yeah.
And if your opinion makes you think that, then that's fine. Just don't let it impact this. Like with the trash and the spitting thing.
Yeah.
It's you know
It's
it's a
the
weird
line, isn't
way
it?
of comparing it, but
But yes, it's where the line
Yeah.
is. It's just,
Yeah.
if someone's being gay in their own home, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect anyone. If someone's gay, whatever, that's not a big deal. But then, if someone's being an asshole to someone else, there's two parts, say the two parts of the Bible. One is don't be a dick, essentially, and one's don't be gay. Well, being gay doesn't affect anyone, so who cares? But being a dick to people actively negatively affects people's lives, so don't do that. I just think one thing that was I was thinking of is humans. We're quite arrogant, and I've especially been arrogant, especially in the past. Is we like to think we know everything, unfortunately. And one of the things is, by the way, whenever we've been talking for quite a while.
No, you carry on.
I was going to say, if it gets a bit too long,
No,
just let me
carry
know.
on.
I like to think in an idealistic way is that every religion, as well as all the science we have, are jigsaw pieces to an image that we can't comprehend yet.
Yeah.
We are so infantile with our knowledge of everything. We really don't know much about anything. Like every one new thing we find out another 20 things we don't know. And that's how I find when I get older. I mean, I think I've used this analogy before on the podcast, but I'll say it again. We are much like when teenagers, teenagers know-it-alls, especially I was a fucking terrible know-it-all.
Same as that.
Yeah. And because what it is I use this metaphor of when you're a child, you see this door and you can't open it, you can't do anything with it. And then what happens is you get tall enough where you can look through the keyhole. And then you look through that keyhole, and because you can see a glimpse of what's in there, you think you know everything about that entire room.
Yeah.
You think you know everything. And that's what a lot of people have with life in general, and that's what teenagers have. And then what happens is when you become an adult, you can actually open the door. You don't necessarily go in the room, but you open the door, and then you look at it all and you go, oh, fuck.
Changes. Yeah, the chair I thought that was there is actually painted on. The lamp I thought is actually not a lamp, it's a fire.
Exactly. It's just like nothing there, like the tiny glimpse that you see that you're so sure of, it changes your complete perspective.
Yeah.
And I like to think that every part of religion, or not every part of religion, but the main beneficial parts of religion, as well as a lot of the science and stuff, they can all culminate to make this one thing. It's like there's that. I don't know how much South Park you've seen. Have you seen pretty much most of it, or?
No, a few episodes randomly, because I used to watch it on and off. If it was on TV, I'd watch it, but I've never sat down and watched start to finish, which I really should.
I've got all 20 seasons.
I really should do that at some
Well, you
point.
can borrow them any time, but there's 2 episodes. I'll have to watch it with you at some point, because we watched those Game of Thrones ones the other day as well.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Absolutely incredible.
Well, there's 2 episodes.
Still can't get the Wiener Wiener song out of my head.
Wiener,
Especially as my ringtone is the Game of Thrones soundtrack. So every time it goes off, I go, Wiener, Wiener, Wiener.
Floppy Wiener.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. Especially when you try singing it along and then you realise you're actually in a customer's house and like, oh my god, there's this poor little old lady just hearing me sing Wiener around the hallway.
That's amazing. But there's an episode of South Park, there's a 2-parter, and it's called Go God Go, I think it's called. And Cartman, basically, he's waiting for the Nintendo Wii to come out, and he freezes himself so he doesn't have to wait. And he ends up freezing himself and going, like, I can't remember how many years into the future, it's like 10,000 years into the future. And this whole thing, the brilliance of it is, because South Park is so clever, is everyone's an atheist in this future, okay? Yeah. And there's 3, and they're like, we've banished religion, we know what's best, blah, blah, blah. And there's 3 factions of atheists. They're all fighting against each other because the name of their atheist league are all different, and that's what they're fighting about. They're like, the Allied Atheist Alliance is clearly the most logical one. No, the Allied Atheist League. And they're killing each other over something so minuscule. And it's hilarious, because obviously I think if everyone
over your belief that yours is more important than theirs.
Yeah, and it's literally just a word difference. And that's the same sort of thing. All religions in general are saying relatively the same thing. And a lot of people believe that a lot of the core beliefs probably came from the same sort of thing. And it's just over time it's translated and split off and stuff. And it's like, there's a lot of common, especially with numbers and stuff. In the podcast that me and Carla, we speak about this because she knows about this sort of thing a lot. And that episode, by the time everyone's listening to this, will be out. So go listen to that. A lot of numbers are common in a lot of the religious texts. There's a lot of, and like the Noah's Ark, the Great Flood, that's been mentioned in a lot of religious texts, and a lot of historical things have gone back and seen there may have been some sort of great flood of some sort. And obviously, if the whole world floods and you don't understand it all, you may think it's a god. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But at the end of this South Park episode, obviously I won't spoil anything, all of it or anything, but there's a bit where Cartman does something in the past and changes the future and stuff. And what ends up happening is the way they stop all fighting and stuff, the atheists and all that sort of stuff, is they say that the true way we don't fight each other now is because it's not atheism and it's not religion. It's a mixture between the two, between science and religion. And when you put them together, you get this equilibrium spirituality, and that's the right way to go. And that's kind of how I'd like to think about it. You know, that's I like to think of with when I was younger, and you know, people used to talk about heaven and hell when I was in my teenage years. I used to go, that's fucking impossible. Just straight away, just no. And even though the idea of a heaven and hell, I still don't fully agree with, there is a couple of things which is like, you know, human consciousness, for example. You know, we don't still fully understand that at all, you know. And there could be other planes of reality in existence that we don't know because, quite frankly, we don't have the tools to measure them. I used this example before, but for a really easy way to understand it, we can only see a certain amount of the light spectrum. We know infrared exists, we can't see it, and we also know the high-pitched frequencies of dog whistles exist, but we can't hear it. Now, if you go further than that, we have more than 5 senses, but let's just say for ease of use, we have the main 5 senses of how we absorb information. Well, what if there's a sense that maybe nothing even on Earth has, that is a way of communicating with other things, a way of seeing other things, but not physically seeing, but you know what I mean? Yeah. If we don't have that sense, there's no way for us to even imagine detecting it. It's like, if you had a creature born with no eyes, you can't fathom seeing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, with that idea, if there is these other planes of reality that we can't tap into, we don't understand, we don't know about, we can't even understand how we'd even think about those things. Because obviously a lot of science says about, there's the 4 dimensions, you know, the main 3 of up, down and depth, because I'm terrible with this sort of thing. And then the 4th is time, and the 5th is parallel. Well, there's a lot of theories about alternate universe theory, which is every decision creates a sub-universe with that alternate decision, blah, 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 sort of thing. And how do we know that there's not other planes of existence and reality, which maybe this is just one stage of it? Maybe when we die, maybe not necessarily reincarnation, but the degree of consciousness that we have goes on to this other plane of reality. Yeah. And who's to say that isn't reincarnation? Who's to say that isn't heaven or hell? Who's to say it's quite odd that there's so many, you go back through history and stuff, and there's so many different things, different religions, different spirituality things. They often have similar themes of there's a reality, or there's these places that we don't know about, we can't fathom.
There is something more that we don't fully understand, and that there is a certain way to get there.
Yeah.
Be good, get it. Be bad, get something worse.
Yeah. Well, it's like being good to each other as well. It gives you that good intrinsic feeling, doesn't it?
Exactly.
You know? So I like to think that even though I don't believe in a heaven or hell, that maybe consciousness may live on in other planes of reality and stuff. But even, you know, one thing that I've always thought, even when I was an atheist, like a really strong atheist, an asshole, basically I think militant atheist is kind of the almost term. Yeah. I mean, militant means to be violent, but I was never like that. But, you know, kind of almost picking fights of religious people due to me being a twat and having ego issues. But one thing I would always say, which I stick to now, is that what I'd like to believe is that even though I don't believe in a God, and if I died and I got in front of a being of some sort and he said, you know, you blasphemed me, you said you hated me, you did this, you did that, I'd like to think that if it is this being, or these beings, or something, or this just giant consciousness that understands things, if it has this intelligence to understand or create these things, then they would realise, okay, well, you lived through this life, your dad died of cancer when you were young, you had this shit happen to you, you had that shit happen to you, so maybe that's why you acted in this way, and I understand that, so blah blah blah. Or, right, yeah, you were, you know, you did blaspheme me, and you did tell me don't fuck off, because I have told God to fuck off before in the past, but they would look at my life and go, but you've lived a life which is you've been a good enough person. In general, your existence on planet Earth has been overall positive. And therefore, if I came up to a God and he said, you know, why do you blasphemed me, and I'd be like, but I lived a good life. Do you not think that's worth it? Yeah. And in all honesty, if there was a God who's valued being worshipped more than being a good person, I don't want to worship that kind of God. You know, and I don't think a lot of people do. You know, There's a lot of people who think that the Christian God, because of the New Testament, the Old Testament, and obviously the mix of translations and all these sorts of other things, there's a God who is an egomaniac who just wants people to worship him or you burn in hell forever. Yeah. And then there's the God who's all about love and care. And what I like to think is the love and care God is the true God in a sense. And the other God isn't a real God. It's just what people who wanted the control used to make people bend to their will. They'd say God will punish you if you don't worship him. So it's not
exactly that.
It's not just that you can be a good person; you also have to worship God.
Exactly that.
That's what I think about.
In fairness, that is also the way that my stance on my religion is.
Yeah.
The Bible was written. It wasn't just there. God didn't just go, boom, Adam, boom, Eve. By the way, here's my autobiography. This is not what happened.
No, exactly.
It was written.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about it. And the church was created by St. Paul, Jesus' right-hand man. And the church is really funny because it can do great works. Great works. Yeah. Poor people get fed. Hungry people are fed. Poor people are housed.
It gives community to people.
Exactly.
As well. Really
exactly hope, that as well. The hope and the energy they can create is amazing. However, if you look at the church historically, it's been a terrible thing.
It's because you get people power. That's the problem.
Exactly.
Humans are so imperfect.
Power is terrible.
Yes.
God's vicar on earth, the Pope, if you're a Catholic, is supposed to be all powerful. He is the representative of God on earth. Yeah. Now, in my opinion, that goes against your religion to say that you have God's power on earth. You are his representative. You do not represent him in the slightest. You just lead his church to worship him and to do good works in his name. Yeah. You don't hold his power. You don't decide anything on his. He hasn't gone, you're in control of the doors. You decide who comes in and out. Yeah. No. That's not how it works. I mean, hundreds of years ago, I'd have been killed for saying this. Yeah. Because I'm saying that to worship God, I don't need the church. Yeah. And in theory, I don't. I don't need the church. I am a Christian. I do worship God, but I like I said, I'm terrible at practicing it. I don't go to church anywhere near as often as I should. If
God's all powerful as they say, he should know that you still are a good person, still worship him in your own home.
Exactly that. So, I would like to be more involved with the church because it's a good community aspect. Yeah. It's a good community thing. It is, it can be a really good place to be. Yeah. I also like churches. I do fully believe. I mean, not only for the architecture. So that's actually what that and some personal things is where religion started for me because I loved old buildings, loved history, churches, match made in heaven.
I will just say that the other side thing is that one of the things, like, regardless of any of my tribes with any religion, some of the mosques and churches I've seen, they're beautiful, unparalleled levels of architecture. The La Catedral in Spain, in Barcelona. Yeah. I've been there. That's unlike anything I've ever seen. I've seen. There's someone I know went to. They saw some of the mosques in. There's some place in Asia. I can't remember exactly where it was. But some of them inside, you see the way.
Incredible.
It's almost ironically, as an atheist, it's almost like saying that's so beautiful. I can almost not imagine someone creating it without God's help because it's so hundreds of years ago and it's so complicated and complex and so beautiful, and you're just like, how did someone make that hundreds and hundreds of years ago? No electricity. It's fucking.
Even on the flip side, when me and Lauren went to the Isle of Wight, we on the last day we were there because we got a really early ferry there and a really late ferry back, so we got the whole day inside. Yeah, nice. On the last day we were there, we drove across the entire island to go to the Church of St Boniface. That was originally made in the 700s and then rebuilt by the Normans in the 1100s. Wow. And it's had things added and it's tiny. You can fit more than 30 people in it. Oh, wow. It's very simple, thick stone walls. There is a cross there carved from oak from a Flemish ship in the 1400s. Oh, wow. The stained glass was donated by a Lord of the Fleet in like a Rear Admiral of the Fleet in like Nelson's time and that sort of stuff. Yeah. And it is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. Ever. And I felt completely content and happy and close to God in that place. Yeah. That doesn't mean you need church to worship, though. No. But it helps some people. And if it helps you, then it's a good thing. Yeah. However, like I was saying earlier, if you go through historically, the church has done some atrocious things. Oh, yeah. But even to its own Christians.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But again, it's because a man wields that power. God there's people have said, "Oh, God spoke to me and I did this." Now you can never prove that. You can never disprove it. However, when someone says, "I think God would want this," I think you are wrong, sir, because you can't read his mind. It's like me saying, "Tomorrow, Mike, you're going to want beans on toast for dinner." Now I've said it, you might fancy it tomorrow.
Maybe.
Equally, I can't say that and be sure and act on it and say that Mike also wants you to have beans on toast, so you're going to have it too.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work.
Yeah, you can't know for sure what another human thinks, let alone this deity.
Exactly that
level of intellect.
Exactly that. So, I mean, mainly to do with the church and stuff. So, crusades and, I mean, up until the 60s, homosexuality was illegal in this country.
Yeah, I've only found that out a couple of years ago. I was blown away. My parents were alive while homosexuality was illegal.
Exactly.
What the fuck?
But historically, laws have been written with religion of the country in mind.
Yeah.
A huge amount.
Yeah.
And that even carries on now. Like in the 60s, homosexuality was gay. Why was homosexuality gay? Because it was declared a sin, and this is a Christian country.
Yeah.
Historically was. Now it's a multicultural country and all that sort of thing. But England, as an entity, is a Christian country.
Yeah.
It was founded on Christianity.
Yeah.
So, like I say, even that, the laws are still wrapped up in it. In a way, it's good because, like you were saying earlier, religion was almost like
moral compass. In a way.
Yeah, a moral compass for people, and sadly that is lacking in a lot of people these days.
Yeah.
So it's good that the laws are still tied up into that because it keeps it. However, it's also bad in the way that religion can and sometimes does put opinion as fact. Homosexuality is wrong. No, we don't like it.
Yeah.
Or you don't like it. Or I think it's okay and you think it's terrible. Doesn't make it actually wrong. If you love another man, my kid's not going to get cancer.
Yeah.
That's not what causes that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, having the laws based around religion sometimes can be really bad. But in a way, to keep the moral compass there, like you said, that surely has got to be a good thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we're getting in the 2 hour mark, so we're going to wrap this up soon. It's getting quite late as well. I was going to say, one of the final points I'll say about religion and that sort of thing is, the way I see it is, I've thought about this quite a lot, and I've said in the past, I believe that if the world was completely without religion, then it may be a better place. And I'm not sure, I don't think I stick to that, my own opinion on that right now still. I mean, there's certain parts of the world where I think if there was no religion, it would be a lot better. What I think is, instead of me thinking there should be a world without religion or anything, what it should be is it shouldn't matter about religion. The main thing that religion brings, which is the most important thing about it, which is the thing is, as the world has become more and more atheist, what's lacking a lot is the community. And that's what we don't get anymore. When everyone went to Sunday church, everyone in the local area, you'd all go to Sunday church, you'd all know each other, you'd all talk to each other without the internet and without even electricity, that sort of thing. You all had to interact with each other because if a storm hit and everything fucked up, there'd be families that'd be freezing. You'd let them into your house. You'd all be a community. You'd all be helping each other.
You're always more willing to help someone that you know than a stranger.
Precisely.
If my friend comes to me and says, need 100 quid, dude, there's 100 quid.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. If a stranger comes to me and say, can I borrow 100 quid? Well, I don't know you. Why would I lend you £100?
Yeah, you don't know them. You don't know.
The religion brought the community together. The community was more likely to help each other and be a better community.
Exactly.
Because people are more likely to be friendly and help each other and do good things.
Yes, and that's what's missing. I find that as we're becoming a more of a less religious sort of country and a lot of the Western world, I find that I'm happy for people to be less religious, because as long as they're still good people, but what we need is more community, we need to, instead of having the Sunday church, we should have more times of just more people, like Sunday barbecues and stuff. And I think as time goes on, especially with the internet, it's kind of, before the internet, it did this thing where everyone from like the early 1900s, especially with the war and stuff, it started splitting people apart. But I think that with the internet, especially more recently, it's slowly bringing people back together, especially people who have more common interests and grounds and stuff, and believe in a lot of the same things and whatnot. And so what it's doing in the right ways is a lot more people are trying for that community. A lot of people, a lot more people going outdoors and stuff and trying to live life and stuff and have
Yeah.
these memories. You know, the amount of experiences and stuff where people are climbing mountains, people are going camping and stuff, it's all starting to increase again because people are realising now, with the internet, with being able to talk to all these people are realising, oh, there's more to it than just my little bubble.
Yeah.
And our little bubbles, we need to have community. We need to have all our little bubbles interconnected. We need to have, I think just the great thing to almost end this on is religion isn't evil. Greed and power of individuals twist beautiful things into stuff that can be used as a weapon and to oppress people, which is wrong. And what we really need is community and I find the true meaning of most religion really is just the love and, love thy neighbour. A lot of in Islam and a lot of in the Quran and stuff, it does say about, all this beauty and majesty and stuff. And it's like, it's all about humans are so imperfect and we're so fucked up, but we're equally so beautiful and so capable of doing such amazing things. And we need to focus more on that and just be more human,
Yeah, exactly that, man.
Cool. Well, it's been great talking to you, Dom. It's been
cracking,
fantastic. Dude. Yeah. Well, we definitely have to do this again. Definitely. Yeah.
Podcast part 2.
Yeah, definitely. We could talk about politics and stuff as well, isn't it?
We didn't get onto that much, actually. Yeah, that is a rich area.
We have, because we conflict on a lot of that sort of thing. So that's going to be very interesting. Cool. Well, yeah, it's been great having you on, Dom. Thank you very much.
It's been awesome, dude.
And that's the end of part 2. Thanks as always, guys, for tuning in, especially listening right to the very end of the podcast. It is very much appreciated. You can obviously review us on iTunes, which is always super appreciated, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and subscribe to us on YouTube and all the other, podcast apps. And next week, I've got a podcast lined up with my buddy Alex. It's about an hour and a half long, so it's longer than the normal ones, longer than each part I normally release in. But we do a basically movie breakdown of 2017. So we just talk about all the movies we liked, we talk about the movies we didn't like. We don't agree on everything, and that's all part of it. So next week's all about movies, and then I think after that will be my chat with Bradley, a good friend of mine. And yeah, it's looking to be a great year of 2017, actually it's 2018 now, so fuck that up, but oh well. It's going to be a great year this year because I've got quite a lot of podcasts lined up, and obviously last year I was just getting my footing really, and it had only been, I think I started around September-y, I think it was about September sort of time. So, starting this year, I've got quite a few guests lined up, a lot of really interesting people. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it as much as I'm going to, It's so much fun doing this sort of thing, and I really do appreciate every single one of you who listens, especially to the end. So, yeah, I hope you have a great day. I hope 2017 has been good for you, and I hope 2018 brings you everything you want. Except that, Tim, because that's weird as fuck. Anyway, see you guys later.